Good evening, and welcome to the Journey of Self-Growth podcast, episode 7. My name is Kite. I am the host of this event, which was created so myself and others can share perspective on the concept of self-growth in hopes that one another's journeys will be relatable, establishes awareness, and inspires listeners to adopt and maintain such behavior. The definition of self growth is a process of developing new skills, attitudes, actions, or reactions that can have a beneficial impact on your life and increase your overall well being. For those who are tuned in, I appreciate you being a part of this experience as we continue on our individualistic journeys as people passionate about self-growth. Tonight's featured guest is a friend of mine, and I will let him introduce himself. Hello, Matt. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. Hi, my name is Matthew Orlando Escalante. I'm an Oakland native. I've also been in the Bay for around most of my life. Never really lived anywhere, but I moved around the Bay. East, west, city. It's pretty cool out here. And I also gotta thank Kite for inviting me to this show. Never been on podcast before ever, but when he invited me, something changed inside of me. I felt like he was like a guy to talk to. Love talking to him at work. That's how we met as well. And I feel like, us two just talking about self-growth is also a way to just open paths for other people, open paths for people could feel comfortable in their own skin to walk it.
Wow, I can relate to that message. And in terms of self-growth, what would be your perspective on the concept of it?
Honestly, I think like with self-growth, it kind of starts with knowing what's around you. I think words I would just put out there about self-growth: ignorance, awareness, and also reflection. You can't be ignorant and just know everything, because it's that those two don't combine together. But also it's really hard to know when you're ignorant, because you're ignorant about being ignorant. Those two does add up. I also said awareness because it's awareness is something to notice and something to put out. Like how can you say that you've grown if you really don't see other people grow? It's like we all have this graph, going up and up and up and up and up, but it only works because we see other people going up and up and up and up and up. I think self-growth doesn't also just come from the self, it also comes from other people. Because you need that example. I also do heavily believe in examples, when it comes to self-growth.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. I appreciate your insight on the concept. And the next question I have for you is, how are you currently growing?
I'm in college right now, and that's a place to just build up your knowledge. I'm going to say right now, public school, I was not satisfied with the education they left me, and I feel like when you talk about self-growth, in ignorance and awareness, and you got to know when you got to know when there's more out there, you got to just know that you're just small and it's in a big world when you want to proceed in self-growth. That's why I went to college, because I know there's a bigger world out there. I know that I'm not going to be the biggest person out there, but I would love to be included in this world,
Wow. Yeah, I could relate to you in terms of being passionate about just learning in general.
Education. That's what I'm passionate about,
And I know that in terms of professionalism, we've had conversations about what you would want to do once you graduate college. But I think, as I recall, at the time you were still uncertain, and I think that's okay. I think uncertainty is a natural occurrence in life.
I would say I got a plan after college, but it's not going to be part of my career. I would love to be a teacher for 5 years. I truly believe everybody should be a teacher. I think everybody should have a group of kids, or even one kid, they could teach themselves, if they could pass on whatever they have to the next generation. That's one thing I want to do after college. But career wise, I'm still in works of that. You know, I want something that could last me a lifetime when I talk about a career, you know, or something that I could bring in other people like friends, family to work with me, you know, because it's not just a career. Career is not just a job. It's your life. Like it's your passion, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. And I know like, you're still new to this journey of self-growth just based on age. And um I mentioned something in the previous podcast about how I had heard a conversation where a man had said he discovered his passion not because he was seeking it out. It was more like the universe had brought it to him, or he attracted it. And as a result of being exposed to something unexpectedly, it helped to enhance his awareness on a specific profession. And that intrigued him to the point where he wanted to do more research. And as a result, that research started to stimulate more excitement about just wanting to do more and participate in that profession. So, you know, hopefully, if you haven't experienced something similar to that yet, you will at some point. I do think that's, you know, it can happen.
You know, that kind of reminds me of a thing we talked about in class, like literally like 2 days ago. Like I have this class named Seminar, and we just like, it's like book club. Like they just give us a list of books to read for like a day. You know, like one day is the Communist Manifesto, the other one's Aristotle or Plato, Socrates. We're talking about this poem called The Good Moral. And there was a one about how this is a poem written about this 1500-year-old map, because we have to also have to like, you know, interpret the map as well. What the Good Moral kind of like told me is about this love you have for the world, and how that love you kind of have to build yourself, because the world out there is already written. You know, all the blank spaces are filled. There's nothing new. What I said in class is like, it's not the world getting smaller. It's just less in it, you know? But the thing is, once you find out like you don't need things that are out there, that's when you find you need things in here, you know? What you just told me right now about the man finding his passion also reminds me of like, I just want to throw out this word, dreams. You know, dreams are, I'm not gonna say a delusion, but they certainly help, you know, like, I don't know, it gives hope, faith, you know, into whatever you want to do, you know. It's like, I would want to say something right now, like, if you really want to like give my mindset in an analogy, listen to this. Like, I would say like my mind is like the sunset, you know, because it's fated to come up and down every day, you know, but it is my dream to see that sunset. And if that dream can be accomplished, then it is my will that will pass on to others down the line to go see that sunset, because they know it's fated as well. I like to say that because, like, being a teacher, I also believe like passing knowledge on, you know, like my story has never started or has ever ended. It's just there, you know, and I believe that because it's my dream. I believe that whatever I do in life is whatever I want to be.
Wow. Now that was all some good words, man. You know, if we were rapping, I would say those are bars.
It's great. Oh, my roommate's a rapper.
Oh, wow.
Awesome. Great.
So I wanted to ask you, the word dream can have many definitions. So how would you interpret the word dream in context to what you had mentioned regarding the sunrise or the sunset?
Okay, but also I just want to say one thing. When I mean by like people down my line, I ain't talking about bloodline. They could be included as well, but I'm just talking about people who have the same dream as me. Like you said before, you said the man found his passion because he studied more and more and more.
Well, he said he wasn't seeking it out. It actually, like, the universe or God like presented it to him. It's like as if he attracted it, versus like, you know, trying to find it.
Yeah, one thing I would believe, like, I think we're just born with dreams, my man. Like, I think where like whatever, like when you gain consciousness, you gain a dream in that moment. Not to say like, oh, okay, I do want to say this, but I hope this isn't taken out the wrong context. My dreams are not original. Not one dream is original. But what makes it original is that it's in our time.
Mm-hmm.
I could be the greatest chef. That's my
Mm-hmm.
dream right now. I could be the greatest chef of my generation. But
Mm-hmm.
that is not my dream. That dream was probably a dream before I was even like known, or before my bloodline even existed.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that dreams are passed on. Like it's genetics. You know, it's not my dream's not gonna go to my kid. I don't want to force my dreams on my kid. It's more like a person in the past influenced the world so much that his dream was seen by somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so my dream might have been somebody else's dream from very long ago. You know,
Mm-hmm. Okay. So when you say dream, based on what I'm hearing, you're referring to something that was possibly preconceived compared to a dream that you have while you're asleep.
okay, dreams while you have your asleep, because I like to make my own dictionary. I really don't like to follow whatever's been told to me,
Mm-hmm.
especially like I like to see what's there instead of hearing what's told to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think when you dream about something, when you go to sleep, is just a way to just like calm your mind, when you're actually sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because of your dream that you have personally, or your desires or your wants.
Mm-hmm.
It's something to just to calm your mind for. Having dreams is totally okay, but
Mm-hmm.
except when you're, hurting other people. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think anybody's allowed to have dreams as long as they're a good person. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I also believe you can do whatever you want as long as you're a good person. See how
Mm-hmm.
those two don't really like mix up in words?
Yeah.
Like that sentence doesn't make sense. You can do whatever you want as long as you're a good person.
Yeah.
You know? But in my mind, like being a good person, everything you do is gonna be good. Everything you do is not gonna hurt nobody else. That's what good person means to me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so you are allowed to do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting nobody else,
Okay.
hurting yourself as well.
Okay. You said something too about how you want to be a teacher for 5 years and you wanted to facilitate the information that you have acquired throughout your journey to others, to someone else. I wanted to ask you, what is your perspective on secrecy in general?
Can you expand on that? Like secrecy, like
So like in context to you being a teacher, like
yeah.
would you um be open and honest with the child compared to like withholding, if you're a history teacher, withholding hidden like history that you are aware of, but you
Yeah.
choose to be selective about it?
Look, kids are smarter than you expect, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you hold yourself at a standard, you gotta hold other people up to at a higher standard. I never hold nobody lower than me, and I never look at anybody lower than me. So like when I look at kids, I'm damn near looking at myself, but better, you know. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, but what I mean by like when kids are smarter than you expect, they could tell your emotions really quickly, you know. Like
Mm-hmm.
remember I told you before, like I'm a person who could wear their emotions on their sleeve, you know.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm pissed off, I'm pissed off. When I'm sad, I'm sad. When I'm having a good time, don't ask. Like I'm just having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I think kids just pick up on that like really fast. Because I was a person to pick up on that really fast. I could tell when a teacher is like, just being a teacher thing and like they don't want to be here. I could tell when a teacher like really likes their class and like really wants to make him laugh and have a good time. I could tell when a teacher is just like putting up a facade, you know. Anybody, like literally, like dude, like anybody could tell who's putting up a facade, if you're really really aware in your social situations. You're really like intellectual, like, social intellect, you know,
Mm-hmm.
kids, I don't know. They don't really teach kids about social intellect, how to be, how to like, have mannerisms or how to just talk, they just do it, you know, you don't need to teach kids, but like, I don't want to hold any secrets, I don't want to be that teacher where like, oh, teacher Matt, like, no, it's like teacher Matt hella real, not because he's a teacher, because he's a person that's teaching,
Mm-hmm.
like, cool. The title teacher is pretty cool, that is totally fine. But it's like I'm not being a teacher for the title. I'm being a teacher because I'm a person who wants to teach.
Mm-hmm.
I want these students to look at me as a person that they could trust. And
Mm-hmm.
that's like, how am I gonna hold secrets if how am I gonna be trusted if I have to hold secrets?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But also I'm not gonna tell these kids whatever, I gotta be controlled of my emotions and controlled of my words to teach kids, you know.
Yeah.
I don't want to give them the bad notation of like, oh, they did this in the past and history repeats itself. I don't want to say that. But it's like there is a realism when it comes to history, like, just hella like genocides, slavery, just economics, just all that stuff. Like it is pretty fucked up out there, and this I don't want to hide the fact that anything can happen out in the world, Like a good quote I would tell my students is like don't drop your guard. You could die going to the same place twice. Because it's like, dude, anything could happen. You shouldn't be comfortable enough to like not care, not be ignorant, But also, you should also have the passion to find out what's true. It's not like, oh, I need to find the truth. It's more like, okay, I see the truth. I'm gonna hold that. I'm gonna hold that truth. I'm not gonna push it out there. I'm not even gonna hide it somewhere. I'm gonna hold it dear. And if the time comes, I'm gonna tell that truth when the time comes. That's what control is about. I want to be a teacher to turn boys into men, into girls into women. Everybody needs a mentor about that.
Wow. I appreciate you sharing that. I think sometimes it seems when it comes to transparency versus secrecy, based on my experience, it seems like individuals want to like withhold information because if they divulge what they know, they'll be at a loss. But it seems like the sun doesn't withhold sunlight. It distributes and it generates more. And so I just feel like, if I learn something and I share what I know with someone else, I believe that, if I'm passionate about growing myself, like I'll be ambitious enough to learn new things. And there's still so much more to that's accessible in abundance.
I totally agree. There's so like I said, the thing like the map being written and how the world is being filled in. Don't believe in that. Don't believe that the map is just there to show that we conquered the world. That's not what it's about. It's about the place that you could go and find more abundance without being materialistic. Like like to bring it back to the poem about the good moral, about my peers were like trying to talk about like love and traveling, and I was the person to be like, yo, just put those together and what you get, like adventure. Your life should be adventurous. It shouldn't be bland. Like anything could be considered adventure. Just because you see a Pirates movie or like a spy movie or like a Marvel movie and that's titled adventure, that's not what it should look like. Like adventure is about learning wherever you are, because whatever you learn, you're going to keep for the rest of your life. And that totally helps you in whatever situation. Like, can I tell you something real right now?
Yeah.
I'm going to meet somebody like you in the future, but he's going to be my student. And me talking with you gives me the gift to see and to like, how to go around this person that I might meet in the future, just how to deal with them, Like, that's how I like to meet and talk to people. If you're one in a million, guess what? There's like, 70 more of you? Like, dude, like you're not alone. You feel like that's, and see, when people be like, I know somebody like you, I get excited because they're like, wow, there's more people like me. And when people tell me, dude, you're like new, you're like, nobody's like you. I'm just like, really? Like, really? Like I said before, like I think holding secrecy, like, you gotta have somebody trust you. I'm trying to be the most trusted in the world for some reason, because it's like one day somebody couldn't trust you with $1 billion, and they trust you because you know what you're gonna do with it, and whatever you do with it, it's gonna be on your path, and it's gonna be what the people who trusted you with wanted, Oh, what was the question you said again? I'm sorry. You said.
Oh no, we were just talking about secrecy versus transparency.
Can you elaborate on transparency? That's like a word I kind of like barely hear out there.
Yeah, transparency is just being open, like an open book versus being only open to certain sections of the book. It's only accessible to maybe a select few under certain conditions. Like I was reference like religion, like there's the Holy Bible, but when I was a Christian, I read the Holy Bible, but then later in life I discovered that there were other books of the Holy Bible that was like considered not canon, and they were not incorporated into it. And I'm like,
they're
wow.
like modified. Yeah.
And I'm like, why
I never,
was that?
wow, I never really, okay, I take like, theological studies here too, and I never heard of like different editions of the Bible. Like it might be written by a different person,
Hmm.
but they give the connotation of like every Bible is the same, you know.
Mm,
And honestly, you saying this right now, I'm gonna say it's not, you know,
mm.
because some places ban books, some places release them like it's like a holiday, but it's all about the narrative, the author and people, the sellers want to give, you know,
Hmm.
like I'm not gonna say we all read the Bible, we're all gonna get the same narrative. That's not gonna be possible at all. But it's
Mm,
like the Bible, I don't know. I'm not gonna say it has a purpose, but it's there because it connects us all. And I kind of want to say that's the purpose of the Bible. But anybody can say whatever about the Bible.
hmm.
Anybody can. Feel free. That's my whole thing. Like just feel free, you
Yeah.
know.
Don't hold back. Don't be
Yeah, don't
secretive about what you feel, because ultimately, you know.
ultimately, like the mind is the biggest like jailer you could ever have. You know,
Mm,
like if you
mm,
can't control your mind, you're then you're shackled up for the rest of your life. If you can't open your heart to it, then your heart is like in prison.
mm,
And that's why, like, I feel like when people say like I want a small circle, or like, oh, I'm the trusser of nobody, like you're just like shooting yourself in the foot. There's more out there. Like, dude, like it's pretty good.
yeah. No, I agree with you. So I was gonna ask you,
Yeah.
so my based on my relationship with you, like when I think about you and how you conduct yourself, I get the impression that you're transparent. You're not the type of person that's gonna be like secretive and be like, what's the word? Deceptive. I mean,
Yeah.
because I think you have a sense of self-awareness. Like it's not a good feeling to be that way. Is that a fair assessment of you?
See, I loved when you talked about the sun. Like if I had like a spirit animal, it would be the sun. You know,
Hmm.
but it's like I like when you talked about light. You
Hmm.
know, like when people see your light, it makes them want to shine theirs as well.
Hmm.
That's what transparency. That's what I feel like transparency does when you include into like characteristics of a person. Like I like to show my feelings because
Hmm.
it allows other people to show their feelings.
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
a person who hates passive aggressive stuff. I'm just like, dude, say what you mean. Don't be like, well, I don't know, or like that doesn't look good. Like just say it. Like
Hmm.
I love critique. You know,
Hmm.
the world wouldn't be as now is the world wouldn't be as it is right now if it wasn't for critique. You know,
Hmm.
and I feel like with our generation, that's like the idea of like small circle and like this makes me want to think that smart circles are like a way to be like, oh, no, I'm kind of insecure, or like, oh, I want to be, no, I don't really trust anybody. You know,
Hmm.
I'm not, oh, actually, not cut the insecure word out. I don't like that word at all. You know,
Hmm.
but it's like showing your light opens up a path for anybody to drive any car, any mobile, walk, run. You could be anything on this path as long as there's a light at the end. You know,
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. For me, like I was listening to an interview with Oscar De La Hoya, and he was talking about how when he first started his career as a boxer, um, he he was presented a narrative by his manager or the organization that was promoting him as a boxer, and I think he was saying, I forget exactly what the narrative was, but he was aware that this was not his life
mm,
and at the time. But when he would do interviews and go on shows, they would ask him about this narrative that, was publicized about him, and he went along with it. But he said in retrospect, because he was aware that this was not him choosing to adopt that and internalize that, he said he used the phrase, it started to eat me alive
yeah,
inside.
I feel you. I totally have a good story too about that,
Hmm.
about just the thought. The Beatles.
Yeah.
Literally, I was watching the documentary about how they like were recording their last album,
Hmm.
well, like, second to last, like
Yeah.
right before Abbey Road, they were recording Let It Be, you know, and one of the like episode two, like they were like reading a newspaper headline about how they were gonna break up, even though And the newspaper said like they weren't even friends no more. They barely see each other. They fight each other. And it's just them reading it all together. It's like, damn, like every fan of them thinks that they're gonna break up because of some fake news that somebody that has like a representable name says. But it's also ironic because after they recorded the albums, they actually broke up. And it took years for them to clear their name, that like, oh, they broke up because they weren't vibing with each other, or like one of them like had it like we're just like acting out. No, they just broke up because they saw that they were taking their own paths already. And I feel like with Oscar De La Hoya, like he just walked the path that somebody gave him, he just went with it, because it's like also like I'm like, the devil is not going to come up to you as a devil. The devil's going to come up to you as a friend and as a person who's going to help you, But the thing is, like, he's going to ask for something in return. And I don't know, like whatever you give in return is going to affect you, And sometimes you guys got to realize, like, people or the things that could help me are things that you won't even see, like meditation, friends, just a lot of things like that, And when it comes to like building a narrative, I say I want to be a teacher. My narrative is like, okay, this might be a little ironic for a teacher to say this, but school not important. Like, don't act like school is like the thing, like you need to put yourself out there. School is helpful. I say this a lot. A lot of successful people didn't go to school, but the same people will tell you that school is important because they know what that's for. It's like you shouldn't, just because you see somebody else not going to school doesn't mean you should go. That's not the light you should follow. That's like I'm trying to say, like, yo, like school is gonna help you reach what you want. That's what I'm trying to say. But also you really can't just put 100% into school acting like it's gonna give you something back. It really is not. Like when I graduated, dude, a diploma, I feel great. I made my parents proud, but I still have to go out myself and go find something new, after that. And then luckily the schools that I went to, all public, by the way, they all had great teachers and wanted me to push me. I looked at a teacher one day, I told him, I want to be just like you, and that's why I kind of like go into anthropology. That's like my major right now, like the study of culture, the study of people, the study of shared behaviors and patterns, because it's like we all follow a pattern. Like I said before, our dreams aren't original. What makes it original is that it's in our generation. We all have shared and learned behaviors from the past, and we're all connected by that going to the future. When I'm ever sad or something, like I feel like there's like a couple people behind me. When I'm lonely, I kind of don't, because I feel like there's a presence behind me, that I'm always being watched or something. And it gives me a little bit of comfort to know that I'm not alone when I feel that. And I just want to teach people, like, yo, like you're never alone. That's why I said, like, there might be a kid who I'm teaching that's just exactly like you. That sense that that person is not going to be alone because I met somebody like him in the past. It's not that they have to meet each other to not be alone. You just got to recognize and not be ignorant that there are people just like you. And that's what I think what self-growth is really is like knowing, like, that awareness that there's other people like you, and that listening to their story, listening to their history helps you, better yourself, better your path,
I was gonna ask you, so do you feel like there's a difference between loneliness and aloneness, being alone versus being lonely?
Yeah, there's a difference.
Okay.
I think you could master being alone. One of my friends out here in college, he literally pulled me aside. I was like, dude, like, I feel like I'm not even hanging out with you like that, man. Like, is there something between us or something? And I said, like, dude, don't feel like that at all. The reason you're my friend, because I have confidence that you're going to be okay without me. I have confidence that you're going to be the same, like, when I'm not even there. That's why you're my friend. But like, when we don't hang out for 2 weeks, it either means I'm just busy, or like, like I just don't feel like hanging out. You feel? And I kind of have to learn, like, yo, my loneliness does affect other people's loneliness. Like, if I want to be alone, some people might think like, oh, he's bothered, or he's like, like, he just don't want to hang out with me. And I just told my friend, like I was just like, dude, like I don't feel like that about you at all. But the thing is, like, you gotta work on presence. You feel you gotta work on like not being there to be there, you know? Because he used to hang out with me every day. And then like when it was like 2 weeks, reaching to 3 weeks, that's when he hit me up. He was like, dude, did I say something wrong? Or like, dude, are you mad at me? I was like, no. But like I had to tell him too, like, dude, like I did feel you hanging out with me that like for a long time. But that's totally normal, you know? That's totally normal to feel like, oh, dude, like I stopped hanging out with him, you know? And I just told him, like, dude, they got to work on your self-presence. You know, you got to work on how to be alone. You know, there's a lot of things you do when you're alone, you know, like play video games, read books, work out, you know, you don't got to like, you know, oh, that's the word, fear of missing out. I feel like that's what kind of loneliness kind of like builds on, like the fear of missing out. You know, you don't want to miss out, so you feel lonely. Like, damn, like they didn't want to invite me, or like, damn, like I wasn't even thought about. You know, but the thing is, like, you know, like it's not like I don't think about you. It's like I don't have to think about you all the time.
Yeah.
And being lonely, oh, that's a like no, like mastering being alone and being lonely are two different things. Like I said, like when you're actually like feeling lonely, you're feeling like there's nothing else to do in the world. Like that's a feeling that gets you like by the chest. It grips your heart, and like it's a lot. It's like it's not just a put a band-aid on it. You're gonna be good the next morning. No, dude. Like I know some people who just feel lonely like throughout middle school, high school. You know, just being antisocial and acting like nobody wants to talk to them at all. You know, and I feel like that's not it's not like a characteristic of anybody. You know, I feel like being lonely could easily be solved. It just takes somebody from the outside to like really solve an internal problem like that. You know, but also like I'm not gonna say like, oh, come hang out with me and your loneliness is gonna be cured. It's more like you should learn how to be alone. You know,
Would being would enhancing your ability to live in solitude or be alone be the solution to being lonely?
Somebody can make you feel lonely. You know, I'm not gonna look because like as much as history repeats itself, like think about that as emotion as well. Like you're not gonna have just one emotion for the rest of your life, or you're not gonna just feel this one emotion for this one time. No, dude, you're gonna feel many types of emotions throughout your whole life, you know. But it does take like a spark in your mind to be like, oh, let me stop being like this, or there is a reason to stop to not be like this, you know. And it's all about like how you where your environment is, or it's all about how you like kind of perceive your environment, you know. Because like I said before, I never feel lonely. I don't know what's behind me, but there is something behind me that's watching me at all times, you know. And you know, it could be ancestors, it could be people who have the same dream as me, as in the past, you know. Because I feel like nobody's really dead, you know. I feel like the person who had the same dream as me in the past probably thought like me, probably looked like me, probably had you know the same mannerisms as me. You know, it kind of gives me hope because it's like if it's in the past, guess what? It's gonna be the same thing in the future. You know? You're gonna, I don't know. If I'm ever gone, you probably might see me again. You know, it's like that type of thing. So I never will ever feel lonely. But there are times where I felt lonely. You know, and also it's like when I wanted to expand on presence a little bit. I want to ask you a question. Like, what do you think about like your presence or like the way you kind of enter the room and you know just assert yourself, you know, and like how you leave an impression, you know?
For me, like when I enter a room, my focus is awareness, being aware of what is taking place in the room, how I can intuitively move in the room without having to think about what I should be doing in the room once I'm inside. And I think just being aware of what's actually happening externally outside of my body helps me to just conduct myself in a way that feels natural. I think sometimes when people try to preconceive how to conduct themselves before even entering the room, that type of behavior can be distractive once you're inside of the room, because the fact of the matter is once you're in the room, there may be scenarios that are just going to be unexpected that goes against your preconceptions of how things should be. So
I agree with
yeah.
that. See, when I think about presence, I think about how you like literally what you said, how you deal with situations,
Mhm,
like I don't know. I'm a person who kind of just fights their own battles. I'm
mhm,
not a person who complains a lot. If something is something to complain about, or like I know something could be different, then that's when I speak out. When I do see a change in that. But like say like I walk into a room and it's really awkward and I don't know why it's awkward. The first thing I'm gonna do is ask why it's awkward, you know.
mhm,
Because I'm for real, I'm just a person who like I said before, I like to show my emotions, because I don't like to have this like sense of like, oh, I'm cool at all times, you know. I
mhm,
have the sense of notion where like I know what's going on,
mhm,
you know. And not to say like, oh, I'm smart. It's more like I totally feel the room. It's not I feel the room, I speak the room, you
mhm,
know. And I think that the first act of going against something shows other people that they could follow as well.
mhm,
You know, I'm not saying going against, and that's the wrong word, but like just changing something up. That's what I meant. Showing a smooth way to change. To
mhm,
change the topic, to change the conversation, to change the mood. You know,
mhm,
like I like to say, like awkwardness is a feeling, not a personality. It's
mhm,
not a characteristic at all. Anybody could be awkward. It's just that I feel like I'm a person who like notices the awkward, and that kind of like makes things less awkward. Because
mhm.
I'm noticing stuff. You know,
Yeah.
you could say the same thing about people. You know, people might feel small and alone until you notice them.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah. I based on what you're saying, like I feel like in terms of the multiple intelligence theory, it seems like you have a heightened intelligence of interpersonal intelligence, which paraphrases to self-smart. Like, in order to say things that need to be said, I feel like you have to have an awareness of why you want to say it in the first place so
yeah,
that you can actually, initiate. And so, I mean, only you would know when and why you should say what you're saying when you're in the room. And I think that's a great skill to have. And when you say like I wear my emotions on my sleeve, or stuff like that, to me, like some people perceive that as being a negative, but I don't think that's a negative, because I mean that to me demonstrates that you are the type of person that will address things in the moment, that when it needs to be said. And I think some people, they try to avoid saying things when it needs to be said, which is always the present moment.
yeah,
And then that can cause regret.
yeah. Oh, regret is something I was talking with my friends a little bit earlier today. And honestly, like when you say about regret and like being a person that like has to say stuff,
Mhm,
you kind of like remind me of just being a leader in general.
mhm,
Being a leader is more than just being the boss. Those two things are not even close to each other. A boss tells you what to do. A leader does things with you. You know,
mm,
leader leads. You know, See, if I'm ever a leader, I think my personal goal of being a leader is to make other leaders.
mm.
'Cause I don't want to be by myself. I
Yeah.
want to make other leaders to understand what I want to see in the world, or what I want to see in whatever situation. You know,
Mhm,
and I'm not gonna say it takes a lot of balls to speak up. You know, it like you can't. I don't know. Like I said with presence, like you gotta like master yourself and show that you master yourself somehow. I'm
mhm,
not gonna say I have an easy key for that. Because hey, like you said, I'm young to say for everybody to know I'm 19. 19 on this podcast. Because Kiwi right here sees that I'm a person that likes to talk, that likes to say, the things that people might, recognize or might connect with. I'm a true believer in universal laws as well. I believe that there are some types of rules in the universe that everybody should follow. Like not killing, stealing, racism, hatred. I think those are universal laws we all should follow. But
mhm,
also, these are things you should not look up. These are things you feel. These are not things that are written down. These are things that are born within you. You know,
mhm,
there might be people like, oh, what about your environment and where you grew up at? How come they don't show you? No, being a good person comes from within. Being a
mhm,
good person is a lot of thought. You know, and also like being a good person is a lot of awareness.
Mhm.
That's all, when you say self-growth, I think I might think about being a good person, because trust me, good people ain't nice people.
Mhm.
Good people ain't the best either. Good people ain't perfect. You feel?
Mhm.
Actually, see, the perfect word, I'm gonna just throw it out there. Like, I don't even know why I said that. But being a good person is hard work. You feel?
Yeah.
Not one person recognizes a good person. People recognize the bad and the person who has them, like, just whatever title they have, Not a person will recognize the person who did the most work. There are some times where your boss might be like, do this for me, and he gets all the credit, you know. But it's really on you to see how you have to master that emotion. You have to master that situation. You could totally be like, oh, okay, I don't want to work here no more, easily. Or you could be like, hey, you think I could get a raise? I know you took all my credit, but I think I deserve something out of that. It's not about
Right.
getting mad. It's not about, assessing yourself as like the person who needs to get the paid. It's all about like if you deserve it or not, because how you act, you know. Like,
You,
yeah, you go ahead.
no, I wanted to go back to something that you had said earlier. You was like, um, if I'm a leader, like I'm investing my energy to create new leaders versus just me trying to maintain that position. And I think that's a conversation that I rarely hear when it comes to leadership. It's more of like, oh, I am the leader and you are the subordinate. And like even with when I think about the concept of just leadership, like rarely do I hear the people who are promoting this saying like I'm trying to grow or cultivate more leaders. It's just I'm teaching the concept of being a leader, but that doesn't necessarily mean just because you're teaching the concept of being a leader that you could be still intentionally trying to maintain being the leader amongst people that you're teaching this to.
Yeah, especially like, I don't know, because there are some teachers who be like, this is the way, this is how it's done for the last 100 years, the last 200 years. This is how we teach people.
Mhm.
Look, like I said before, school ain't important. What's really important is how you get what you get from it. You
Mhm.
know, A's, B's, and C's do not define who you are. It's how consistent you are with those. Dude, you're totally a good student if you have all C's in my mind. Because
Mhm.
guess what? You showed up, you did at least did the amount of work that was needed to pass. So I'm not gonna look at you less or above than other people. You feel?
Mhm.
You're a good
Mhm.
student, and that's what it takes. You feel?
Mhm.
Like, if I was ever a teacher, the way to fill my class, just don't show up. If you want to fill my class, don't show up. You know, like, dude, come to my class, dude. You're gonna have a good time. You feel?
Mhm.
That's what I've been preaching. Like I said, go back to adventure. Like, I also believe like having a good time is what's really important.
Mhm.
And to say if something was more important than school is having a good time.
Mhm.
And trust me, you can have a good time in school. You know,
What's your definition of the phrase "have a good time"?
knowing that there isn't another chance to do something, but also knowing that there's a sense of this one moment.
Mhm.
The sense that this moment might not be repeated, so I might as well enjoy it.
Okay. Wow.
But also, it's having that control that there is always going to be a good time anywhere else. You know,
Mm.
because like a good time to me could be just with two friends,
Mhm.
could be with 100.
Mhm.
But that sense of, we're here in the moment and we're doing whatever because we're good people and we took the time out of our day and the hard work to get here. That's what a good time means.
Wow.
You
I
can't just
agree with you.
you can't just create a good time out of nowhere. You got to build up to it. You feel? You got to create
Mm.
a plateau of
Mhm.
hard work and dedication and comfortability to have a good time. You feel?
Like building a brick house.
Like building a road, like I said before.
Mm.
Remember, I said the road that I want to build for any car, motorcycle, plane, whatever, UFO could just drive on it and feel free to go
Mhm.
wherever. That's the road. That's what having a good time means.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I like that analogy. I wanted to ask you, it based on your knowledge, is there a difference between sociology and anthropology, and if so, what would it be?
Sociology has to do with a lot of things from right now, you know. like I took a sociology class, but the theme of that sociology class was world problems.
Okay.
So it takes things like economics, social status, ageism, just generational wealth, all those things, into one thing, and sometimes one of those are the problem. You
Mhm.
feel, but with sociology, I feel like it's more of a now thing than anthropology. It because I'm gonna say this right now. When people ask me what's anthropology, I just tell them a simple answer. It's history class, but the present,
Mm.
And I tell them I'm a cultural anthropologist. So I study like a lot of like different cultures outside the US,
Mhm.
inside the US especially. You feel
Mhm.
it? The diaspora of like people. That's how I like to call it. But sociology kind of like goes into like more of a honestly, I feel like sociology class is more of a history class than anthropology, you
Mhm.
know, because I remember talking about like Reagan and like trickle down economics in the 80s, that whole era right there, you could like really like do a paper on sociology and probably like hit every point, just talking about the 80s, because
Mhm.
that's really like a place in time where we saw one part of the world affecting the smaller part of the world. And we saw, just a lot of change in how we talk to each other, how we interact financially and socially, you
Mhm.
know. But with anthropology, I like to say we study more on how things become, things. Like there ain't no definition for tradition, you know.
Mhm.
But anthropology is almost like an example of how we could see tradition, you know like
Mhm.
tradition, like it's literally like a shared day or holiday that we
Mhm.
do repeatedly, you know but it's
Mhm.
like, why do you do it repeatedly? I don't know. It could be reasons, but it's like the thing itself, tradition, it's you have to just get it. Like you have to say like tradition is just tradition. You don't really have to really see like, oh, the deeper meaning behind tradition. Everybody has traditions.
Yeah.
It's just a thing to do, because it either means something more bigger than yourself or it is for something for yourself, you know.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things like holism as well, like with anthropology. I'm still trying to like figure out what holism is still. But what I kind of got from anthropology is like, how we just like share ideas. How do these things come to fruition? How do I know who's being elected? How do I know who's running for office? And how, or
Mhm.
like, who taught me how to act, or who showed me how to speak. That's what things what anthropology kind of goes into. And like you kind of build like this whole world, like when you study like a culture, you know,
Mhm.
like it's like you're hopping between worlds with anthropology,
Mhm.
and like you really need to have like a passion or appreciation of something new when you're an anthropologist. You can't just be like, oh, that I never been there before, I don't want to go. Like you have to be like, wow, that's new. Like, wow, I never seen that before.
Mm.
You shouldn't be afraid to like look for the new or like look for change, you
It
know?
seems like if we're to use like an analogy, if anthropology was a genre, it would seem like it would be pop music. What
Mhm.
is that?
Worldwide,
Worldwide music, like
like
global?
Pitbull and the Social Vista Club, because those or like I said before, like so Aquarians, you know,
Hmm.
like Erica Badu, D'Angelo, Mos Def, Twala Kweli, all those people, like they're from many places around the US, but they
Hmm.
all came together and wanted to create a new genre, you know,
Hmm.
because they had shared and learn behaviors that they was like, yo, we could totally vibe together, or yo, like we could totally make some music together, and that in itself created its own culture.
Hmm.
Because these people just wanted to meet up and just do what they wanted to do. They wanted to have a good time, making music.
Is there a particular is there like one historical event that would be considered an anthropological event that you just like enjoy like talking about, and what would that be?
Man, it's like I'm into history, and it's like honestly, I'm too prideful to say like my favorite point of history is right now.
Okay.
you know, but I'm gonna tell you like one thing I like to talk about in anthropology. Like it's a cool time. I like to change the subject a little bit because I really can't pick a favorite place in history.
Yeah.
The thing I like to talk about anthropology is food.
Okay.
Like food is amazingly like linguistic. You know,
Mm.
food food speaks on a different level. You know,
Mhm.
last year I took a food and culture class. Literally every day we ate, and the faces around full of joy.
Mhm.
And we ask the question to ourselves, why is that? Why are we having joy when just eating food? Like doing something that we always do every day, but why is it so different now? You
Mhm.
know, because we're in class, because we're doing something out of the norm. That's why we have joy, because we're doing something that's really new and we feel comfortable with, you know. And it's like the way people cook. Oh yeah, every two students used to bring in like just something they wanted to share. I brought in like prosciutto with melon, and I went to Marco Hall to go get the prosciutto, right? And they were just asking me questions like, "Oh, where did you get it? Oh, this was expensive. How much was it?" And I had to tell them like, "Oh, I got it at Marco Hall. That's how I worked at, and I got it because I get it for cheap. You feel this expensive, really high quality food? I get it for cheap, because I worked there."
Mhm.
And that in itself, like people learn more from me because the food I brought in. You know, I want to also like to stop talking about food. People learn more from me because the way I am. You know, because like trust me, like I said before, like the way like where I'm living right now is Whitey Town. I'm from Oakland. You
Mhm.
know, like everybody was Black, Latino, Tongan, Asian, for real. Not a lot of
Mhm.
white people. When I came here, of course I felt out of place, most definitely. You
Mhm.
feel? But it never stopped me to be like, oh, let me go make some friends and let me go make some memories. Because I didn't have that fear to go reach for something new.
Mhm.
I didn't have to feel like, oh, these people are gonna look at me different. I am open. I have more chances just being labeled as something, being here. You feel?
Mhm.
Because I'm a person of color.
Yeah.
And I am prideful enough to say I am a person of color, because that's who I grew up with, you know.
Mhm.
'Cause why would I not say, oh, I'm from Oakland? Is there any shame from being anywhere?
Mhm.
No, but
Mhm.
it's like when people say I'm from Oakland, I love saying I'm from Oakland. I'm from Oakland. I'm from Oakland because it gives other people, who are from places that are worse or that are just a little bit better or that are just around, gives them a chance to be like, yo, I'm from here too. And I love how like Oakland culture, like, yo, really? Like we just dap each other up. It's just like, yo, like we're connecting right now. And it's like because I showed my light, that person showed theirs. And that's what created a connection, a shared behavior, which is great, And that's the reason for why I like to study cultural anthropology, because the connections we make together, I truly believe breaks space and time, you
Mhm.
know, like look, build a time machine, whatever, build a nuke, whatever, but you can never destroy the world as much as shared connections could,
Mhm.
or you can never rebuild the world as much as shared connections did, or change the world.
Mhm.
Like shared connections are just things that are beyond powerful. Like I
Mhm.
said before, I truly believe that there was a person in the past who had the same dream as me.
Mhm.
That shared connection, I'm never gonna know that person at all, but I know he was out there in the past. You know
Mhm.
that that thought and that like shared connection is already something that is already gonna like motivate me and make me do actions that were supposed to happen. It's like fate.
Mhm.
I truly believe in fate, but it's like I'm not. Fate is more of a feeling than it is like a set path. You feel something feels like fate instead of something is fate.
Mhm.
And I feel like fate, dreams, and will are things that come from people who are seeking adventure and freedom.
Mhm.
And I feel like those when you search out freedom, then you could, like I said, if you're a good person, search freedom. If you have that power to be good, then you are privileged enough to go, or no, you're like allowed to seek whatever you want.
Mhm.
You know, and I
I
feel
want
like yeah,
I want to
go.
add, I want to ask you. So it seems like when I hear you, especially with this new adventure or experience of college life, transitioning from a place um which is Oakland to Moraga, I feel like it takes effort and it takes courageousness to go outside of your comfort zone and establish new friendships with people that you may have never ever seen in your life. And I think, for me, from an individualistic context, I mean, I think that says a lot about you. And I think about when you were saying, like, I'm confident because, I sense a presence that's always like there's, a support system. I'm kind of curious to know, like, I know based on my experience with my dad, like, I think I get a lot of courageousness and boldness from emulating him. It seems, it only, I can only theorize, but I would theorize the reason why you are who you are is because you have emulated someone else who, inspired you to become who you are. And I'm curious to know who are, if it's one or more people, who are they, and how did they, like, what can you tell me about them?
Yeah. I'm gonna give you two lists. Is that fine with you? Two lists.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you people who are actually in my life and
Mhm.
fictional characters, because I feel like storytelling and like, just building a character that's like not a hero, but like just a person is really hard to do. And it's something that I respect. Somebody who's like connection. And especially in what's harder is, being a person of respect in real life. That's the hardest thing you could probably do. Everybody's searching for that, like you can't really turn down respect because that's disrespectful. You feel? But it's like the first list is the people who actually affected my life in real life. My dad, my mom. And I like how you said like I'm a bold, courageous person because those two people I could easily embarrass, like just in presence, because it's like I'm not embarrassing them for like, oh, to teach them. I'm embarrassing because it's a joke. I'm really lighthearted when it comes to embarrassing people. I'm really lighthearted to push people out there, out of the comfort zone. When I know them, I'm not gonna do that to a new person, But it's like my mom and my dad and my mom both came from war.
Mhm.
They both are immigrants from El Salvador. And to bring it back to your question about history, like a point of time I like to actually look at in anthropology, I could look at the Salvadorian Civil War, because that's where I'm not gonna say I'm a product. And I'm a product of war if you really think about it. My parents met here because of war, But it's like I don't really look at that in anthropology. It's more like I talk to my dad about that, talk to my moms about that a little bit more than I do in any other class about how they survived and how they like saw friends and family like left behind when they had to take like what 5-month trip walking to these states. It's like really, really tough. And plus my mom, especially my mom. Hey, my mom takes care of 1, 2, 3, 4 men in her household. You feel? Like my mom is the mom. You feel? Now I respect my dad a lot. My dad takes care of the house, but my mom is the person that it's chopping time. What? Wait, what you doing right now? Cut that out. Or like, hey, I could kick you out this house whenever I want. And I totally respect her for having that. You feel?
Yeah.
Because it's like you gotta have that person to just hit you in your head, outside your head when you're doing wrong. You gotta have that person to just put you in your place when you're feeling too much, when you're on your high horse.
Mhm.
Because when you're on your high horse, guess what? You might fall off a cliff. You feel? It's like, yeah. Another person that affected me was a teacher called ThE. His name is Dr. Najat Duwong. He works for Fremont High School. He didn't really like. Okay, I'm not gonna say like he was like the best teacher around because I truly don't believe there's a good teacher like to be the teacher. You feel? But he was a person who I wanted to be like. You feel? He was like what? I don't want to offend a 5'7" Asian man, tatted up, teaching a 10th grade, not 9th, 10th, 11th grade, 12th grade classes. You feel? And guess what? Like he felt like a person to me. He was the first ever teacher to feel like a person. You feel? And not to defend all the other teachers, I love him to death. You feel? But Najad Dewan was like the person, like, wow, this is what teaching could take me. You feel?
Mhm.
Every day he would come in, you either would do like a decent amount of work and like like watch and read like a dictionary, read some books, and like literally it just felt so chill to be in his class. And that's because of the presence he gave off. He felt like a person. He felt like, dude, if you really want to be here, just be here. And that's why I said, like, if I'm a teacher, the only way to fill my class was not to show up. because that was the teacher to teach me that like literally, like I remember I was eating his class, right? And it was like the end of the year. So people wanted to graduate. And like 4 seniors came up to him crying, like, oh, Dr. ND, please, like, I'm about to graduate and I need your class to graduate. Like, can you please do something? And literally, he kept it a buck. He was like, no, I can't pass you. You know why? Because you literally didn't show up to class. Literally. Like, you didn't show up. We weren't here for to do no work. You weren't here to even watch movies. You weren't even here to just socialize. Like, you were just not here. So like, that's why I can't pass you. You feel? And I totally felt that. Like, he's totally right. You feel? If you don't have, just the time, or if you don't have like the motivation to go to school, like what else are you gonna do in life? You feel? That's why I said I don't like complaining. If I complain right now, guess what else I'm gonna complain about? If people complain about not graduating school, well, guess what? You still gonna complain even if you did graduate school. You feel? It's all about how you perceive things and how you put them out there, how you use your presence to put like a message out there. You feel? And that's why like Dr. ND like kind of makes me want to get a doctorate as well, because he's a person who did the discipline. He's the person who he's himself. You feel? And he's lighthearted. You feel? But he knows his bottom line. Having a bottom line is something that's very hard to do. Like, trust me, I know some people who want to be like, yo, dude, like I feel like people don't take me serious. You feel? And I just like, yo, you gotta have a bottom line. You gotta be like, all right, bro, stop laughing at me. I'm like, hey, yo, I'm getting pissed off right now. You feel? And he was a person that really put it on there. He was the person to teach me about the bottom line. Because look, 5'7" Asian man, dude, I had what, 6'2" classmates, big as hell, football team, and he was the person to just kick him out of class like it was nothing. And I seen the same people I seen other teachers having a hard time kicking out the same student. But it was like Dr. Nd's presence and like how we respected him. It's how he controlled the class. You feel? Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't know how you could do that. That still mind boggles me a little bit. You feel? And that's why I like to research anthropology and shared learned behaviors, because it's like, damn, what did he go through to kind of learn how to control classes and how to just be himself and also act like a person, but also a respectable teacher. You feel?
Mm-hmm. And then you said I think you mentioned some fictional characters too, which I think is also relevant.
Yeah. Actually, if anybody watching this, I want to throw out a couple names too. My brother Mauricio, hard worker, my guy. And I want to include him in my whole career. You feel? My friends from right now, from my roommates right now, I'm just Gab, Dom, Jaren, Sam, Rourke. Those guys are my role models. Also, my friends from Oakland, you feel, like Jose, Ricky, Alex, Jaheim, Jamori. Like those friends, they've been through the cup. I mean, I know them since elementary school, and they taught me how what a real friend means. Without even going out there and be like, yo, I'm teaching you something. It just felt so natural to be friends with them. So also got to take everybody at work. You feel? Like Isabel, Kiwi, Martin. Martin's a guy who I love to talk to. You feel? Because he's also a person who just knows how to talk within the heart. You feel? Yeah. Fictional characters, you say, right?
Yeah.
Ever heard of One Piece?
Yep.
I got the analogy of the sunset about the dreams, fate, and will from One Piece. Because it's an anime about pirates.
Okay.
And the character of Goldie Roger, the Pirate King, he gives me an idea that there will always be another like you at the end of the day. So your story was never written, your story never began, your story was never ended. It's just there. You feel? History repeats itself. I think people shouldn't look at that as a negative thing. You feel? Because if a person that really changed the world happened, it could happen again. You feel? If an event happened that changed the world for the better, it could happen again. You feel? But it's because it was needed at the time. That's what One Piece kind of showed me about, you feel? Because it's a huge world that's ran by a world government. But the world government saying pirates are bad. Every one of them. If you hang a black flag, if you're even not associated with the Navy, you're done for. You feel? But there are still characters out there who don't even give just 2 senses about the world government. They're just no, dude, the sea is out there. Let's go, because it's something to do. you know, and that
Mhm.
those are the people who like have the biggest titles in the world, you know. And Gold Roger was the Pirate King, you
Mhm.
know. Gold D Roger, I mean, you know. And he was a man who found the last island, and he was a man to be like, the last island is nowhere to be found, but answers is on there. Go find it,
Mhm.
you know. And that's where the main character comes in. You feel? Because he is a person who picked up on that will, the will of being a true pirate, a true man of the sea, true freedom. You feel? That's what I want to pass on, just the idea of true freedom.
Mhm.
Another fictional character, and the fictional character that makes me want to be a teacher,
Mhm.
the anime and manga called Great Teacher Onizuka. There was a prequel called Shonen Junai Gumi. That means like Shonen Beach Boys, or like, you know, this story was about a teacher named Onizuka, or Ekichi Onizuka. You know, he's like a punk dude. You know, he's blonde haired. What's it called? He's, you know, he wears like t-shirts, ripped jeans, Nikes, all in the 90s. You feel? And he's a person who like society looks at him as like a punk, as like a loser, but he himself don't believe that he's a loser. You feel? He believes that he's like that guy. You feel? Like, oh, I want to be a teacher. But he doesn't like put it out there like he's like a king or something. He just is. You feel? And before he became a teacher, he dropped out of school and became a motorcycle gang leader. Well, people chose him as a leader because he was that guy, right? But that was the choices he made. He dropped out of school on his own will, you know, and he doesn't regret it at all. And what he's trying to teach everybody else, you know, whoever's in his class, is that school is not important, my guy. You know, like I said before, if you complain about dropping out of school or being kicked out of school, guess what? If you did graduate school, you'll still be complaining. You
Mhm.
feel? It's just that that mindset that like, you know, like everything's on me. I fight my own battles. Nobody's gonna fight. No, nobody else is gonna fight my battles. You feel? It's all on me.
Mhm.
That's what he Etsuki Onizuka like teaches me a little bit, you know. Like you could be a teacher as long as it's a dream. You could be anything as long as it's your dream and you know you're a good person. You know.
Mhm.
And I would tell you to read that, but it's the humor is, oh my god. It's like the humor is so funny, but also like messed up at times, you know, because it's like a 90s thing. You know, it's a 90s anime manga that wanted to reach the 90s perspective, you feel, about teaching and about
Mhm.
being cool and being like that person that everybody wants to look up to, you feel.
Yeah.
Another character I like to kind of personalize myself with, you know, Jack Sparrow.
Yeah. From Pirates of the
Actually,
Caribbean.
fun fact about me, that was my first ever memory I ever had. Like earliest memory was watching Pirates of the Caribbean and Jack Sparrow going like this, like you know, with his gun.
Mhm.
Like I don't know, that whole character of him being like clumsy and, you know, speaking smoothly and getting out of the dire situations kind of like reached to me, you know,
Mhm.
because I like the impossible characters. You feel? Because they make me, because it just makes me like feel like a certain joy. Like, oh, dude, if that's happening, and like if somebody ever thought about it and writing it down, and like it's turned into like some form of media, it could totally turn into a form of real life.
Mhm.
Because, like I said, any light could open other lights. You feel? It's all about like the influence. You know, I think
Mhm.
influence is a key word in this whole conversation too. You know, like I want to be a good influence, you know,
Yeah.
but it's like also like making leaders into leaders. I need to teach people how to be their own influences.
Mhm.
So it's, you know, just like fictional characters like that are just great, you know, because
Yeah.
it gives me a sense of like I'm not alone. You feel?
Yeah. I'm a strong proponent of
Yeah.
the theory that fiction is connected to reality, and there's things that can inspire us to be better people even if it's not actually happening in the physical realm. Like, you know, the abstract too matters, the unseen matters, when it comes to just growth, because it it's like when we read these fictional things, I still think like the fiction is still based in reality at some point,
Yeah.
because if it wasn't, like, how would we able to just like come up and imagine these things in the first place, you know? So yeah, I definitely get
Yeah.
inspired by fictional characters myself. I wanted to also go back to what you were saying regarding your parents and how they went on a trek. They were on a trek for 5 miles, 5 months. And I think that experience in itself, for someone to like put forth that type of effort and complete it, it will be hard for me to believe that they did not grow or develop into something that they would have not become had they not started that journey. And once they completed that, like they were a totally different people.
Most definitely. They became American, you feel?
Mhm.
That was the time where they became America, a true American, you feel? Because to me, look, I'm a Yankee. I love being American. I could
Mm.
never be more American than my parents.
Mm.
Because they're immigrants. And that's what a true American is, a person who came here because it's America. You
Mhm.
feel? I'm not gonna call myself a true American. That's why I call myself Yankee.
Mm.
Because I'm a person who lives here. But I'm also the same person who's like trying to like see more out there. You
Mhm.
feel? Well, my parents like they're good where they're at. You know,
Mhm.
it's I'm not gonna say it's on me for them to take them out the states, but like I would love to do that. Because that's what they deserve. You
Mhm.
feel? And also it's like, just being like a person who just knows like history. Like, dude, like I don't know. I think I really don't like to show off my accomplishments.
Mhm.
No, I be like me, I don't like to post on stories or Snapchat or all that. I do like to look at them at some point. I did post our thing on the story, but that's just because of, like I feel like this is something special.
Mhm.
I just like this is something that's like, yo, like this is time to take out of my day to reflect on who I am.
Mhm.
And reflect, more importantly, to reflect with a friend. You feel like I'm treating this whole thing like, dude, like we're not even live. I'm just talking to a friend right now, and I'm glad to be able to talk to you right now. You feel?
Mhm.
It's just like, dude, I think you're a cool person. Like, dude, you totally like influenced me a little bit.
Mhm.
Actually,
Thank
not even a little bit. Like, dude, like I'll consider you a role model right now.
you.
You know,
Mhm.
you're a person that I truly respect. I truly like, dude, you're like just like me. Like
Yeah.
we just like bond and like connect like so easily. Like I remember like seeing you up in like I remember you asking what's my name. And I was like, yo, it's Matt. And we talked like what, like 5 minutes after, like it was nothing. Like it was
Yeah.
like, you know, and just like knowing that my parents worked hard and had me, it kind of gives me like the sense of like, dude, like I'm really lucky, but I shouldn't use that luckiness on myself. I think people should feel the presence of being lucky.
Mhm.
I truly say I don't want to like say like, oh, dude, like I'm the shit. Like, I don't want to say that at all. I don't want to be the smartest. I don't want to be the top dog. I just want to be the most trusted and the most person with who's themselves. But I truly say like, if you hang out with me, dude, you're like automatically cool to me. I will never second guess you. You know,
Mhm.
like what you show me is what you show me, man. Like like I do tell people like if you show me a fool, of course I'm gonna call you up when I need a fool around, you know. Or if you show me a person that I could trust, of course I'm gonna trust you with some information. Or of course I'm gonna call you up. You feel? And not to say like I want to use people, but it's more like I like to show myself as a person that as myself, as a person you could connect with, you could vibe with, you could be cool around. And also, but with that saying, like I also believe that like I'm a person who could weed out all the uncool people, because I am that leader. I am the person who could say, I'm not gonna, I don't want to say I'm a leader. I am that person who could say like, the things that are needed to be said in that thing. You
Mhm.
feel? Because I'm not gonna say like I'm the like, okay, I thought this was like before then, like before I even had this thought, I thought I was just a scary looking person, because that stigma, like I'm from Oakland, I'm from the hood, I'm from the ghetto, I roll around with a whole bunch of colored kids. I kind of truly believe that at some point. I thought I was like a scary looking dude. Not that I was people looked at me like they were scared and they were like look at me like they're hella curious about me, or like they're hella like aware about me, like, oh dude, that dude looks dangerous. That dude wants to. I truly believe that at one point. But just learning how to be yourself and learning that, like there are people, fictional and in reality, that really inspire you. Like, dude, like you don't gotta think what other people think about you.
Mhm.
That's not important. Let them think whatever about you. You feel
Yeah.
they're just uncool about it. You know, like I said before, if you like, I could weed out people who are uncool because I'm just that cool. I'm not gonna say
Mhm.
you. I'm not gonna say like, oh, if you don't hang out with me, you're not cool. But it's more
Yeah.
like I truly believe that if you hang out with me, you are cool. You
Mhm.
feel? You know, you are a cool person to hang out with. See, because okay, my dream. Now I'm talking about dreams a lot, and I didn't even say it. My dream is to have a big enough name where like two people could totally have a random conversation, and my name could be brought up. You'd be like, "Oh, you know Matt? Oh, of course I do." And next, you know, them two will just be forever, just like friends because it's just one name. You know,
Mm,
like, have that personality where like if you know me, then you're gonna know a hella other people.
yeah, nah,
And
I get that. I want to so we're gonna transition to the part of this is a new section of the Journey of Self podcast where we're interpreting quotes and I like this part because we get to share our own perspective and interpretations of a quote that I think is relevant to self-growth. But before I get to that, the designated quote, I still just think it's inspirational, like the resiliency that you shared with your family, and it reminded me of an additional quote that I read, and it said, "The best view comes after the hardest climb,"
mm, that's a
and
good.
I was like, wow. So if if I or you are committed to bettering ourselves, which is a climb in itself, once we reach a plateau, which is a plateau that we cannot get to unless we are committed to bettering ourselves, that's a perspective not only that we can enjoy, but the people who are possibly unaware of the amount of effort we did in order to get to, uh once they interact with us, like that energy and that resiliency, I feel like will be projected in conversation, the way we walk, the way we move, going back to
Mm,
being, like you said, going into a room. Like once we reach that plateau and we go into a room, that experience that we went through to get us to that plateau is gonna stay with us.
yeah.
And that 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 growth within is like it can inspire children, it can inspire anybody, especially if they haven't reached that plateau. And that's just so valuable, it would seem, so that they can eventually be inspired to like
Mhm,
reach that mountain peak as well.
definitely. A quote I truly love. They had asked the first climber of like who climbed Mount Everest, "Why you climb Mount Everest?" All dude said was because it was there. You feel?
Mm,
It's just there. It's something to do, you know. And I also love that quote about like that plateau. Like I I truly believe that hard work does not this shouldn't be seen, but it should be like shown from you. You
mm,
should block yourself. You should hold your head up high like you work hard. You know,
mhm,
you
mhm,
truly deserve it. You feel. You
yeah.
shouldn't. You shouldn't like. Oh, ever seen Coach Carter?
I haven't watched that yet, but I want to.
You should. There's a character in there named Tia Cruz. Honestly, the character who has been through the most. Samuel Jackson, then Coach Carter, keeps asking him, "What are you afraid of?" And literally, the kid gives him this quote, like, "I'm afraid to show my light because I don't know what my light could do. But now being with you, it's like it shows that my light could make other light." You feel? And
Mhm,
he had said a quote, and I was like, it's not enlightened to shrink yourself in a world that's so big. You know, it's like this world could hold enough of us. You know, but it's like that mentality that like, oh, I'm nothing, or oh, that person is something, and he put me down, so I'm gonna start feeling nothing. Like
mhm,
that's such a constraint on the mind. You feel? And
mhm,
that's something that's not really taught. You feel like this is so competitive that you don't even realize that competition is also like a mental game. You know,
mhm.
it's all about material. Like you should value mental things over material things. You know, because
Yeah.
it's like, dude, how am I gonna smile at the end of the day if I'm still depressed with like 50 gold chains?
Mm,
You know, it's like, dude, like you have to like work on this before you work on anything else. You know, and people sense that. You feel. Don't act like whatever you do, like, oh, I could do this in secret, you know. Like, dude, everything's gonna come out at some point, you know. So might as well not hide any secret. You feel,
Yeah.
even just the things you're ashamed of. You know, you make yourself a better person if you face your battles, if you face the things you're ashamed of, you face the things that you're afraid of, you know. Because
Mhm.
there's always things something scary. There's always something to be feared of, you know. There's always something more fearful, you feel? And
Yeah.
it's but you have to tell yourself, let me train myself in that way. Let me discipline myself to like, you know, prepare myself if something does happen like that. You
Mm.
feel? Or if this emotion comes back again, let me learn from what I'm feeling right now. You feel?
Mhm.
Let me not hide away from it. Let me not shrink myself. Let me open my heart to it. You feel?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Mhm.
So the next quote, and I enjoy this quote a lot. Is stated as follows: Enlightenment is not the byproduct of avoiding the darkness in favor of the light. It is the byproduct of taking the light of awareness and diving deep into the darkness with it. Um, to make the darkness aware is to turn the shadow into light. Um, Matt, how would you interpret that quote?
The darkness is still something, man. The darkness is something that you should learn from. You feel? Just
Mhm.
because it's dark, just because it's something that you're afraid of, doesn't mean you can't learn from it. You know, like when you, of course, when you go down into a cave and you light it up, imagine you seeing all the animals crawling back into their things. You know, all
Mhm.
the bats flying away, all the worms going to their holes. You
Mhm.
feel? And that's because you have a light to shine. You feel? But because you shine a light, you see a person coming out the darkness. You feel? And seeing that light makes them open themselves like, yo, like, hello, like I was lost for the cave. I was lost in the cave for a bit. You know, thank you for showing me light. You know,
Mm.
and it's, you know, something, you know, if you approach the darkness without fear, you might get a reward from that. You know,
Mm.
you
Mhm.
might, and it's not like a material reward, but it's more like a self-growth. See,
Mhm.
I love that word. I love how you made this podcast about self-growth because that's something that is really universal, you know, and
Mhm.
that's really humanistic, something that makes me feel like, you know, I could teach, you know,
Yeah.
I reaches really deep down in my soul to say like, oh, we all change. But guess what? Change is not bad because my change is really self-growth, you know.
Mhm. Mhm. Wow. Oh yeah, I like your analogy of the cave and also taking the light into the darkness and how the darkness matters. And within the darkness, you can make discoveries such as maybe there's bats, maybe there's things that you had never experienced before. And if we're all a part of the oneness, holistically, if we're all a part of a experience, the the things that are within the cave like could be a reflection of yourself, and things that you can learn from that could help you to grow yourself.
Mhm.
And then also within the darkness, you could also discover someone else who may have lost their way in the darkness.
I'm glad he caught that. I'm glad he caught the bugs and the person walking down because that's truly how I really meant it, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think for me, like how I would interpret that too is like sometimes we make self discoveries about ourselves that we didn't even know, you know, we didn't know about ourselves. And so then sometimes from my own personal experience, once I make this self discovery, I'm so delighted about discovering something about myself. But then unexpectedly, uh the discovery that I make about myself is sort of like put put to the test versus me just simply being like, you know, delighted about it. It's like, okay, I learned this about myself, but here comes the universe or God, like put exposing me to an experience that challenges or uh you to like motivates me to inspire me to it inspires me to like um use this new tool about, or use this new discovery into like practical real life situations. And those real life situations may not be light, may not be happy, may not be delightful. It may be in the dark. And at that point, you know, from my own experience, if I'm in a dark situation, it's possible that I might lose myself by relinquishing what I discovered about myself that made me so happy, by giving that up for self-doubt. And be like, you know, I discovered it, but it ain't worth it. It ain't useful in this situation. So I'm just gonna be like, I'm just gonna choose to stay in the dark and be lost, because I don't feel like I'm capable of like seeing myself through the dark with this new discovery of myself. But if I can remain resilient and see myself through the darkness, and come out in the light, then that discovery just becomes so much more valuable, and it humbles me so much more. It could be a belief, it could be a new like you can establish a new relationship with someone, and initially you don't know the person, and then unexpectedly they may tell you like, oh man, I had a troubled life. I might have, my parents, they were abusive. And like when you hear that, you might be tempted to walk away from the relationship, because you be like, this ain't something that I can deal with, because I've never been around someone who's been abused. But if you can like stick it out, and maybe even grow in the darkness by learning studies of how you can actually help this person to better themselves by self-healing themselves,
Yeah.
being in the darkness with them, it's possible that like you guys can both end up in the at the at the end of the tunnel, in the light.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's an amazing thing. So
I would love to bring like a situation that's happening right now that I saw like on social media.
mhm,
I don't know why people say that we don't need gender studies or gender history classes.
mm,
Like that's such a poor mindset to have, to say
mm,
that we need a type of history.
mm,
Trust me, man. Anything that happened in our world, you could be doubtful that whatever you see on textbook really happened.
mm,
Any reason could be a reason for war. Any reason could be a reason for change, you feel? And for
mm,
us to say, oh, this type of history we don't need, bro,
mhm,
you're literally asking for like some things to repeat themselves. Some things that other people have to go through and already had a hard time going through. You're
right,
asking for the next generation to go through it again. You
right,
feel? And it's like the idea of like this, like gender and like like queer study and all that, dude. It's nothing wrong with that, dude. We have to know ourselves to you know go to that plateau you said.
mhm,
We can't climb the mountain not knowing the mountain itself. You can't just be like, oh, let's go, or like, I don't want.
mhm,
It's like you have to know at some point. You feel?
mhm,
You have to
mhm,
that some things are important, not just to you, but to other people. But guess
mhm,
what? Like I said before, whatever I go through in this life right now is what I'm going to teach in the next life, or what I'm going to teach when I'm a teacher, you
mhm,
know? Because it's like, of course, I love to make friends. Guess what? I might have a student who's exactly like my friend. And for
mhm,
me to sit, and for me to shrink myself and to, not get to know as many people as I can, I'm missing the point. You
mhm,
feel? Why, if I didn't have to meet other people, if I didn't have to socialize, then why am I here with like 8 billion people? There is a purpose to why there are other people here.
mhm,
It's for to teach yourself. You feel? Look, I'm not gonna say I'm the most original person. I'm not gonna say, oh, I'm myself. I never copied anybody. Original things come from copying things your own way, right?
mhm,
Like,
mhm,
there ain't no original rapper, ain't no original artist, dude. It's just like rapping and artistry and like anything that has to do with discipline is something that you have to just look for yourself. Something that you have to, search out there. And the way you learn is to learn from other people. And that's the best way to learn stuff. You feel? Because
right,
like look, I truly believe in the sensei and the master. You feel? And I truly believe that Oh, I mean the student and the sensei, I truly believe that the student should never show themselves better as the master, but show a deep appreciation about what they taught them.
Hmm,
And
I
it's,
agree.
yeah, that's all I gotta say.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah, no, I appreciate your interpretation of that quote. I related to it, and hopefully other people will relate to our interpretations of it. So we're reaching the final leg of the podcast, and this is going to be the section where we talk about the multiple intelligence theory. For those who have unfamiliar with this, there are two theories that were created in terms of intellect. One is more adopted and popularized than the other. Um, the popularized one has been uh, utilized in academics, which suggests that we as individuals have, I think, three forms of intelligence: math, um, writing or English, and science. And there's another theorist, his name is Howard Gardner, who proposed that we have not only those three mentioned, but six additional. And the reason why I choose to promote and talk about the multiple intelligence theory is because may think, some people think that they are inefficient or may have low self-esteem because they're not good mathematicians, writers, or scientists. But it's possible, based on the multiple intelligence theory, that they have heightened degrees of intellect in the six intellects that I have yet to mention. I'm going to show a diagram of those, and it's a very intriguing one. So I'm going to do that now. So this is the multiple intelligence theory diagram, and what you'll see is 9 different categories, and the theory suggests that we as individuals possess all 9 of these. What will determine the level of degree for each is based on practice and repetition in each area or aspect of these intellects. And so, just to give you a brief overview of each one, naturalist would be like nature smart, people who are enjoy camping, hiking, being amongst wildlife, such as like a Bear Grylls, would have a heightened degree of intellect with the naturalist. Then there's musical, Kanye West, who makes really amazing instrumentals and is a Grammy award winning producer. He would have a high degree of the musical intellect. Mathematical, logical, our math teachers or professors that teach calculus and the various studies of mathematics, they would probably have that as well. Existential is an interesting one. This is like spiritual smart, those who are believe in a spiritual realm, God, who are believers of God, who have actually, have interactions with the spiritual beings, have a would have a heightened degree of the existential intelligence. Interpersonal intelligence is someone who individuals outside of themselves tend to gravitate to because they have this ability to sense people's feelings and motives. I like to reference popular kids in high school. Some people may perceive like they're popular just because of who they are. But I theorize the reason why they're popular is because they have a heightened degree of interpersonal intelligence. So like they're warm, welcoming, they initiate engagement with people versus waiting around for people to come to them. And so as a result of that, people they have a good ability to both listen and react to other people around them. Bodily and kinesthetic, this is called body smart. Someone like Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, like a Deion Sanders, these people, due to like putting in the time and effort of like staying in the gym for thousands of hours, practicing their free throws, crossovers, had results in them heightening this form of intelligence. Linguistics, those who are writers, award, who win awards, philosophers also, I would say, who people enjoy reading their books. They would have a heightened intelligence of linguistic. Interpersonal is self-smart, people who tend to have self-boundaries, who not, I would also say nonconformist thinkers, who don't go with popular opinion just based on the want to be accepted by other people. They tend to have this heightened intelligence of interpersonal intelligence. So, and then also the last is spatial intelligence, interior designers, architects. One of my favorite architects is Buckminster Fuller. He's the one who designed the Epcot Center at Disney World. They have this ability to orient physical objects in ways that are both practical and appealing. So this is a brief description of the 9 multiple intelligence theory. So with that being said, I'm curious to know, Matt, if any, which one or more, due to practice or repetition, would be intelligences that you have high degrees in, and then which of the 9 would you have low degrees in, which you would like to improve? And the final part of that question is why.
Okay, can I start with the ones that I gotta improve?
Yes.
Who stand out? The logical, mathematical, and the musical. I'm gonna lie, I'm not really good at math,
Mhm.
but I do know enough to be a register, cash register, how to sell, how to value something, and how to show how this value changes up and down, like something like business things, I like to talk a lot, and I like to, try to convince, if it's something good, then I'll love to convince you. I would love to just have like a really fast brain when it comes to math, like 43 times 60. I don't know. But it's like, it's like everybody could be better than math, even the most smartest math people. It's always it's like I took a stats class like a little bit earlier, and literally I went in there and I thought they were speaking a whole different language. Like, it's like with mathematical also comes linguistic, because there's a lot of slang terms, a lot of, it's a lot of symbols and a lot of, things that make math easier. But like a beginner like me goes into that just not knowing anything, or not, just don't know how to like connect to one or plug in numbers. And I said musical because I would love to learn how to play live music, not, well, just to have fun, just to jam out. I'm a true jammer, I'm a rocker. I love salsa, I love soul, I love R&B. I just love music as well. But I love it enough to kind of convince myself that I should, learn some songs or learn the skill to pick up a guitar and sing and dance. And, it's great. Like one of my favorite games is like Guitar Hero, that's like that's really a skillful game. But that game kind of makes me want to play more guitar, like a 6-string, acoustic. I want to do bass. I would love to do drums. I love to sing as well. It's like, and plus there's new math getting released every day. There's new music getting released every day. How come when's my turn? When can I release something? And what was the other question?
Oh, and then the other part was, which of the 9 multiple intelligence theories do you have heightened degrees of intelligence?
Hmm. Okay, I must say from purple to like the light green. I'm gonna speak on all of those right now. You know, existential, like that's one we all have to go through. That's one like, shit, what's my purpose? What should I do in life? Am I here? Is this a mistake? Those are some thoughts that, do affect how what you come out of. Like there is a effect when you ask these questions to yourself, and it's totally normal. It's totally normal to be like, what would it be like when I die? Or what would it be like if I kept continue living? It's questions to, or just a feeling of, pure romance that goes inside your head when you think about life in general, because it's like, trust me, we all often fear death, but you should also believe death could have you when it earns you, you know.
Mhm.
Interpersonal, oh, I'm not going to say I was popular in high school, but I did talk to a lot of people.
Mhm.
Entering college, I remember a friend of mine was like, oh, everybody knows you, man. I'm just like, that's kind of scary saying that everybody knows me because I'm just myself. I never try to put myself out there. But like, I love how you said like people in high school like are like popular people or like with the like are interpersonal intelligent, because it's like, yeah, I was totally a welcoming person. I was totally a person who could, you could ask for a favor, oh, could you give me some chips from the store, bro? Or like, or like, hey, dude, like, I like these shoes. Like, dude, you think you could like clean them? Or like, you could like tell me, like, come with me to go buy them? It's like, yeah, I'll go with you, man, And it's like, with that, though, of course, people will speak about you, There's nothing wrong about speaking about people, but it's
Mhm.
like, that allows them to speak good about you. You feel
Mhm.
like, and it allows other people to recognize that, oh, this is a cool person to hang out with. I want to be cool, so I'm gonna hang out with him. Like I said before, like anybody who hangs out with me, I'll never second guess you. I'm gonna think you're automatically cool if you hang out with me. You
Mhm.
feel even if you think you're an asshole or you think a person that's unredeemable, bro, you ain't show me the things you did in your past. But you meeting me gives you a new opportunity. You feel? Because I'm not gonna second guess you. You are what you show me. You feel?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I'll never think of you as different as me. So literally, when you come up to me and hang out with me, you're literally just like me.
Mhm.
Body kinesthetic, I love swimming. I love like doing like a lot of like, I used to when I was a kid, I used to like put on kung fu videos and just like huh, huh, huh. And it got to a point where my dad was like, "Do you punching really fast for no reason?" like just try to do a flip and like, you know. But it's like I also do like to control my body. Like I said, dance. I love dancing. You feel? I think dancing is like a free flow of exercise.
Mhm.
Like, and also dancing is such a struggling thing that most people have, like you don't have no rhythm, you have no jive, you have no soul. Like, dude, like you have to work on those to be a good dancer. But it's like just because you're not a good dancer don't mean you don't have those. It's that you have to recognize that there's something outside of just body movement that moves your body.
Mhm.
Linguistic, I love to talk smooth. I love when people say I talk like like a guru, or like I talk like a person that they should listen to, and it gives me that sense of like, wow, like they truly listen to me. You
Mhm.
feel like, and of course, like I said before, like I'm a leader. Like I like to, not like I like to, but I can say things that need to be said. You know, I'm not gonna say I always pick up on everything, but it's just like, yo, if I see somebody getting bullied, oh, dude, I'm gonna show you what a real bully is. You know, it's like, in interpersonal, um, see, that's a hard one because sometimes I'm like, I'm not gonna say I'm indecisive. Okay, no, everybody's indecisive at one point, right?
Mhm.
Like I'm gonna say like I do like to know what I want most of the time.
Mhm.
But it also like, well, interpersonal, you also have to master yourself. You feel? I'm not gonna be that person like, oh, like say like there's a girl out there that I love. You feel? Like I really can't just be like, oh, let me give up everything and everything to go with that girl. I would love to, but it's like I have so much things to, to do that I really don't have that time to just give up everything, you feel? And that's what mastering yourself kind of is, you feel? Because it's like, you know, love is like a thing that is a reason for anything, you feel? Like I said, remember how I said like the gender history thing and like how like like saying that we don't need the type of history is such a poor mindset.
Yeah.
Like kind of saying like there's types of love is also a poor mindset to me as well. Like there's only love and only you could feel it, my guy.
Mm.
Like, they ain't like just because that person feeling love, like just because that person did that thing because of love doesn't mean like it's it's not an example for you to do it,
Mhm.
Like do something that benefits you. Do something that you won't lose anything. Like, you should have the needs that won't affect anything. You feel?
Mm. Yeah.
That's why I say that's why I say you should value more mental value than material value.
Mhm.
And sometimes people would love to, like I said, like mental value, like some people will throw away everything just for love. You feel?
Yeah.
Even if mental and material. You feel? But you throw away material to gain some mental things when it comes to love. You feel?
Yeah.
And honestly, it was so recent for me because honestly, I had an experience where like, damn, like I feel like I could have gone out with this girl a little bit more. I feel like I owe her because she showed me such a great time, but I just never could plan anything with her because she just didn't have the time or I didn't have the time, and I felt really bad. But what I
Mhm.
wanted was to show her that I loved her. You feel?
Mhm.
And I really felt really bad, because I know that things are not going to be the same. But I'm glad that I have that interpersonal understanding of myself that I loved her, and
Yeah.
that totally calms me because it's like I never loved anybody else as much as I loved her. You feel? But
Wow.
it's like I was with her and I knew what I wanted when I was with her. You feel? And
Yeah.
I'm truly grateful for that person. You know.
Cool.
Can you remind me what spatial was again?
Spatial intelligence is like the ability to organize, place physical objects in a way that is practical and useful um for growth. Like, in order to in order to live um in an environment that has conditions such as rain or hot weather, you would need to have the ability to construct a house that's going to be able to withstand these types of conditions throughout the year. So and then it takes like yeah, that's the best way to describe it.
No, because I totally want to connect it to interpersonal.
Hmm.
Basically, yo, I'm a true believer in feng shui. Like, I
Hmm.
think my room got to be laid out to a point where anybody could enter and feel comfortable with entering. I love
Hmm.
the living room space. You know,
Hmm.
I love when I could like hang something from the wall and people be like, "Yo, that's cool." Or like I hang something somewhere and like it just attracts a lot of people just to hang it out there, even when they don't notice. Oh,
Yeah.
excuse me. But it's like with spatial, I also do love like how you decorate things. That's when you said that I thought about like decorating or like organizing something.
Yeah. That's
Like
that. Yeah,
I,
that would be a part of it.
yeah, like I don't know, when you said that I totally just got reminded of like a bookshelf.
Hmm.
Like I have my own bookshelf, and when people come up to it, of course they're gonna literally see my whole personality on the bookshelf because I'm putting books that I like. you know.
Hmm.
And it's like I'm visualizing, and I put the bookshelf up there to like, I don't hide anything. You could totally read my books if you want to. You could totally take one. And I feel like with that power of like knowing how to like make a room and knowing how like people are attracted to certain things and are unattracted to other things is really like, would you say that's a spatial visualization?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. That's how I feel. Yeah. And honestly, I love nature. The last one was nature.
Oh, okay.
Um, Hikes are good for you. Hikes are totally healthy for you. There ain't nothing wrong with a hike, except when it's in the night, because that's very dangerous. But still, like camping as well. You know, I live around a bunch of deer. I live around a whole bunch of animals. Like I even have like what 3 dogs at my household right now, in
Mhm.
Oakland, and totally, I love nature,
Mm.
literally the reason why I said like I want to be better at my music, because I really want to go find like an open plain with like big circle, but with trees around it, and just play music, you feel?
Mhm.
I heard a friend tell me that, a friend from Maine told me that him no no that his uncle and somebody else had like a call it experiment about trees. They would go to this one tree around their corner and cuss at it every day. And then when a year passed, that tree looked withered. You
Oh
know,
my God.
that tree looked like it was like about to like die. And they like took pictures and like, every day. And like, they was like, yo, like these trees totally feel negativity, and
Mm.
negativity affects their growth, you know?
Mm.
But the same experiment can be done the opposite way, you know? What I want to do is probably play for the trees, because just they're living things, they feel vibrations.
Mhm.
And I honestly look, my school mascot for middle school was Roots. I went to Roots International, not a school anymore. It got closed down. But our mascot was just a tree with like big roots. I totally, now looking at it, that totally represented just the human spirit, you know.
Mhm.
Because like I said before, a tree will die and wither because of some negativity from the outside. But the opposite can be done. Whole bunch of positivity and soul, and a whole bunch of like thought and affection put towards this tree, could be the biggest tree that could live forever, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I
Nature's
enjoy.
just us. Nature's literally just us. You're part of nature.
Mhm.
And one thing I would say, I would love to like just these final words about nature. When you think about the definition of the tree, don't think about the bark, the leaves, the branches. You got to think about the sun, the ground, the water, and the tree itself. You know,
Mhm.
that's the definition of a tree to me. Like, the things that make it grow.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, I liked all that you said. Yeah, yo, we ran a little bit over, but
Oh,
I do,
no, really?
but it's okay. It's okay.
I'm having a great time right now. Like, this is
But
such a great talk.
I do want to say, like, you're the first guest that's been on the Journey of Self-Growth podcast that has expressed that they have like, I think a couple have said like about max 4 of heightened degrees of intelligence of the 9, but I think you named at least 5 or 6. So
Really?
that's
Well, when I look at that, I think everybody got the opportunity to be whatever type of challenges they want. I think everybody has all those 9, to be
yeah.
honest. Yeah.
And that's what the theory suggests. We have all of these intelligence within us. It's just a matter of putting forth the effort to enhance them in degree. So, and so to hear what you're saying and also giving me context to why you said what you said for each intelligence, that to me, like, it symbolizes and demonstrates how ambitious you are as an individual. And I think I'm glad that you share that with us, because um your journey could be an inspiration for other people to, like, not settle for just being and doing like a certain, one or two different things that they always just do repetitively. Like, and when I heard it, I was like, man, that's very interesting. And it motivates me to want to, like, enhance my degrees of intelligence and the 9 multiple intelligence theory. So with that being said, I really enjoyed the conversation that I had with you, Matt. I think this will be a valuable resource for other people tonight and also in the future. Um, and so I want to ask you, uh, do you have any parting words? And if so, what would they be?
I just want to say to everybody that when I say there are people behind me watching me, I want to say there are my ancestors, because you are not one piece of the puzzle, man. You're like just another yellow line on the road to the light. Like, when I say your story was never written, would never begin or would never end, I truly mean that you should totally take your life into a way where you will be satisfied, you know, because I think it's really, it's really depressing or like tragic when people, you know, just be like, damn, like, wow, like those many years ago, I could have did this and I would have been a different person. And I totally sense the sense of like frustration and, you know, the sense of like, wow, like I hate my life right now, you know, and I think you shouldn't hate your life at all. You know, I know people have it harder. I'm gonna consider myself lucky when I say that too, because I'm a person I'm not gonna, you know, I'm still young, man. You know, I don't want to act older. I don't want to act younger either. I got to act who I got to be, you know, and it's for not just for me, but it's for whoever who comes before me and after me, you know, because my life is not mine, you know, even though I'm a person who preaches freedom, you feel? But me saying that gives me the most freedom of all, you know, that saying that my life is not mine, you know, because it gives me a sense of like, I have to, you know, I don't have to be a certain way, you know, but this thing that I'm trying to reach, only I could really like, only I know the blueprints, you know, and it's really powerful for me to say about like the light and stuff, because I would love to show these blueprints to the whole world, you know. I'm not saying I got it all solved, and I don't want to have it all solved, you know, but I want the hope, the dedication, and the, you know, in the mindset that there's an answer out there, but the real answer is really the process of finding that answer, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Nice. I like those parting words. So with that being said, this concludes the journey of self-growth, episode number 7, with myself, Kite, and my friend Matt Escalante. I hope y'all will enjoy the rest of the evening. I appreciate y'all all. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.